Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Come on in the room and get settled. We will start shortly. Turn the music down just for a little bit while we come into the room. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Feels good to be back. Hello. I am Soleil. I am the founder and facilitator of the Charm School Mentorship Program. I am cover mother of Vision of Dawn Tour. I am your weekly reader, and I am a dope bitch straight up out of Oakland. Hello, 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 hello. Come on in the room. Get settled. Hey, Nicole, good to see you. I'm here for another Astro Hour segment. I know that I was supposed to do weekly energy reading this past Sunday. That unfortunately did not happen. We will get back into the swing of things with the weekly energy reading this coming Sunday. But I am definitely here for Astro Hour. Thank you for joining me. I wanted us to do this today because we have a very important transit happening starting tomorrow that is going to last us for about 8 years. And I thought it was really important that we come together to talk about it. Now, as you can see from the banner and the title of this video, I'm supposed to be talking about Chiron in Taurus as well as Mars in Gemini. But honestly, because Chiron in Taurus is so important, I really want us to focus on that today. If we get to Mars in Gemini, dope, that's awesome. If not, we can cycle into that next week. Some of you may notice that I've been doing a lot of Astro Hour and no Happy Hour. That is for two reasons. The first and the most important reason is there's a lot of big astrological transits happening in the month of June, as well as in early July. And I feel like it's so much more important that we talk about those things than we talk about gossip and shit. I don't want to talk about Trump. I don't want to talk about Nicki Minaj. I want to talk about the stars, right? Which leads into my second reason for not having done Astro Hour. Pop culture is a little nasty right now. There's not a whole lot going on that I feel motivated to give a lot of my energy to. So for this week and next week, we're going to focus on the stars. If things change by the time July rolls around, then yeah, we'll have another Astro Hour segment. I know that some of you guys are also curious because I was supposed to go live with Kodan yesterday to do a happy hour, right? And we were going to talk about celebrities that need road opening. We are still going to do that segment, but we're going to do it next week. Kodan and I have decided to push back the road opening ritual to July, so we have time. We will definitely get to that segment, just not this week. Okay? So hold on, let me go ahead and clear my space, and then we will go ahead and get into our conversation about Chiron in Taurus. Now, again, we are doing Astro Hour and not Happy Hour, but if you want to get yourself a little fun libation to sip on while we talk about what's going on with the moon and the stars and the comets and all that shit, go ahead and do it. I have mine here. It's non-alcoholic, but it is my very favorite. You guys know I'm an orange sparkling water kind of girl. So that's what I have with me tonight. But if you have a libation or a tea or anything and you want to tell me what you're sipping on, feel free to. Hello, Adelaida. Good to see you. Hello, Nicole. Hello, Sylvia. Hello, Aisha. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. Anyone else who comes into the room, say hello as you come in. Hit those scale emojis. The scales do give me energy. And if you can probably hear it in my voice, my energy is a little low right now. So any support or help at this time is deeply and greatly appreciated. Also share this link far and wide if you know anybody who is interested in astrology, who wants to understand Chiron a little bit more deeply. I think this live stream will be really good for them. So make sure you share it, okay? So let's go ahead and get into our discussion about Chiron in Taurus. Chiron has been in Gemini for the last 8 years, with the exception of about a 6-month time period where it kind of stutter stepped into Taurus. um, or retrograded, right? Which is a thing that Chiron will do. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Right before it'll like transit into a sign and then retrograde back into the previous sign for about 6 weeks or so. And then it positions itself fully and rooted within a sign for an 8-year period of time. So when Chiron is in a position, it is there for quite some time. So those themes of that particular Chiron placement will pop in and out of our lives over that 8-year period, okay? 8 years is a long time. When Chiron was in Aries, it dealt with issues of identity, right? So what are the wounds that we have around identity, our I am energy, our ability to take up space and use voice? That has been where Chiron has been grappling with us as a collective since about 2018, okay? Now, oh, sorry, wrong set of notes. Hold on a second. There we go. So, starting tomorrow, June 19th, we have Chiron entering Taurus for the first time, where it will be for about 8 years, okay? It will retrograde back into Aries September 17th or 18th of this year, and it'll stay there until about April 14th of 2027, and then it will re-enter Taurus and stay there until July 19th of 2023, okay? So, it'll stay there until May 5th of 2034, wrong date, okay? So again, Chiron is a placement that sticks in a particular sign for quite some time. 8 years is a long amount of time. Some of you guys have met partners, gotten married, and divorced in 8 years. Some of you guys have taken up new trades, new fields of study, new work fields, gotten jobs in that field, decided that you didn't like it, and left in that time. Some of you guys have birthed children, and now those children are in your face talking and having opinions in that time. 8 years is a long period of time. So that's why I think it's really important for us to talk about Chiron whenever it shifts into a new position, but especially with it being in Taurus right now, right? I just mentioned that when Chiron was in Aries, it dealt with issues of identity. It's now going into Taurus, where it is dealing with our value systems and our relationship to worthiness. So if we have child wounds related to worthiness, there's going to be a lot coming up for us, coming to the surface over this next 8 years, okay? So when Chiron is in Taurus, some of the questions we should be asking ourselves is, what would change in my life if I truly felt worthy, right? If you truly felt worthy, if you felt grounded and rooted in who you are and your value, what would change in your life? Another question. Do I feel safe to even receive abundance, to receive overflow? Those of you guys who've been with me since I was teaching about financial trauma recovery, which is something I'm going to get back to in early July and we'll talk about later, right? But if you've been with me since I first started teaching about that and the spiritual weight of that, that's a question that we have to ask ourselves sometimes, right? Some of us, it's not about our ability to create or make avenues for money. We have ceilings, glass ceilings that we have for ourselves that we have a hard time getting beyond, right? So Chiron in Taurus asks us to ask ourselves, do we even really feel safe to receive abundance, right? And if we don't feel safe, how are we creating blocks for ourselves? And then another question, what are the beliefs around money, around survival, around security that were passed down to me through my family, right? That are ancestral, that may not have started with me, but I've inherited them in ways that are either beneficial or sometimes may not be beneficial, right? Those are all things that Chiron in Taurus asks us to think about. Again, so I'm setting this up. I'll get into the nitty-gritty in a bit, but I want us to remember that for the past 8 years, Chiron the area of our wounds, where we are supposed to conquer our wounds, not only to heal ourselves, but to heal other people, right? Chiron has been in Aries, right? And this has been helping us in terms of healing wounds around identity and self-assertion. Some of you guys who may have been recovering people pleasers have had to cut people off and create distance, right? Because people have been playing with your head around who you are and how you identify, right? Some of you all have had to really fight for your voice over these last 8 years. Some of you guys have had it illuminated for you how there is a divide between how you see yourself and experience yourself and the way that other people project onto you, and how that creates blockages for you. All things related to Aries, Chiron, right? Now we have Chiron shifting into Taurus, which is going to have us looking at worthiness, resources, stability, and our relationship with value and abundance. Okay? So those are very different in tone and focus, even though there is a little bit of a connection. And you'll notice that when we go through, not just with Chiron, right? Each zodiac builds on the next in a really particular way in terms of the themes, right? I want to take a minute to step back because I am a Chiron priestess. I work with Chiron a lot. If you've ever gotten any synastry work done from me, any reconciliation work using astrology done with me, then you guys know that I deal with Chiron a lot, right? Maybe not an intro natal chart, but when I get into more heavy follow-up work with people in terms of astrology, we deal with Chiron a lot. And it's because I'm a firm believer that if you don't understand your wounds, if you don't understand your shadows, you either may not have the deepest understanding of your gifts, or you can decrease the power of your gifts because you're letting your shadows run wild and, no pun intended, overshadow your gifts and your blessings, right? So let's talk about Chiron. Let's talk about it in mythology, and then we'll talk about it in an astrological sense very, very quickly, okay? Chiron in mythology was a very, very wise centaur. A centaur, a healer, a teacher, and a spiritual guide that suffered a very particular wound that could not be completely healed, right? He suffered a wound to his Achilles, right? So even the concept of Achilles heel is related to astrology in a really particular way, right? Now, this is a wound that he carried throughout the rest of his existence. He never fully healed from it. But in his journey to try and heal from it and to learn how to live with it, he accumulated extraordinary knowledge as well as compassion, not only for his own condition, but for other people who live through a similar condition, right? So that is what Chiron represents in terms of mythology. It represents a wound that you lived through or survived that you may not be able to heal in the sense of, in Western context, when we think of healing, we think something goes away completely, right? That's not always the case. And I really want to teach a Chiron in disability class, an astrology and disability class at one point when I start teaching in college again, but that's another conversation. But but we have this understanding that when you heal through something, you never deal with it again. Most things that we heal through, we're learning how to manage, right? That's where triggers come from. Depending on the context, the experience, and the circumstances, you can have inflammation. You can exacerbate a wound, right? So when we think about Chiron, we want to think about healing in our context, in that context. It is something that, yes, we heal through in terms of learning how to manage and how to be aware of, but it may never really go away in terms of our psyche, in terms of how we see the world, in terms of our identity, right? But with Chiron, we can learn how to have wisdom as well as empathy around how to live through that experience. And that wisdom and empathy turns into knowledge that we can then use to heal other people in our lives and in our community. Okay? So Chiron in astrology represents a core wound, right? And we think about core wounds, they are wounds that we experience early in life. So Chiron represents a core wound. It represents a vulnerability. It represents a type of spiritual initiation, right? That process of your pain or your difficulty, that dark night of the soul, turning into wisdom that heals, okay? It can also represent wisdom that is gained through experience. Those are all the themes that come up in our life whenever we are dealing with Chiron in astrology, okay? So the place where we hurt most deeply often becomes the place where we can help and heal others, right? You guys know I teach a lot about mother wounds. I'm a mama's girl who lost a mama. My mama's an ancestor, right? So my point of healing my point of healing has become something that I've been able to help other people heal through, right? So let's look at Chiron in Taurus specifically. Again, I've gone over the timeline. I'm going to go over it one more time. This starts June 19th. So it starts on Juneteenth. Even thinking about that, right? Juneteenth being a big holiday around ancestral memory, around worthiness, around the ways in which a government organization or a nation can really literally hide the worthiness of a people to confuse them, right? God don't make mistakes. All this is circular. All this is cyclical. All of this is connected. But on June 19th of 2026, Chiron goes into Taurus for the first time. September 17th through 18th, it'll retrograde back into August for a period of about 6 months, where it will stay in Aries until April 14th of 2027, when it returns back to Taurus, and it will stay there until May 5th of 2034. Okay? Now, why does this matter? This matters because during this 8-year period of time, this transit is going to shape collective healing for 8 years. So on a collective level, regardless of where your Chiron is located in your chart, we will all be dealing with collective issues around value, worthiness, resources, security, and stability. 8-year period of time where we will collectively, as a globe, as a human race, be confronted with issues around value, worthiness, security, resources, and safety. This is important to understand because within a geopolitical context, what is our country going through? A recession, right? So if you have Chiron in Taurus, which is about value and issues around feeling safe and secure with resources in a country where there's an economic recession, do you think that that's going to feel pleasurable? Or is it going to be a little iffy for a lot? It's going to be scary. It's going to bring up a lot of feelings around insecurity for a lot of us. So knowing it not only so that you know how to heal yourself, but also for you so you can hold space for other people in your life who may be dealing with financial struggle or trauma related to financial struggle is going to be extremely important. Okay? So we are dealing with a shift from a collective mindset that was centered around identity, courage, anger, independence, and self-expression for the last 8 years to now going into a collective mindset that is focused on self-worth, security, resources, money, the body, because Taurus is earth and earth is the body, right? So the health of the body, pleasures of the body, right? As well as pleasure and stability. So questions of Chiron and Taurus are, am I worthy? Do I feel worthy to receive? Can I receive? Who am I when I have to be vulnerable enough to receive help, to receive assistance, right? Do I trust life to support me. That's a big one. Some of you guys aren't seeing progress on your manifestations. Some of you guys are doing prosperity work over and over again and not seeing results because you don't even trust life. You don't trust the universe to support you. If you're one of those people, Chiron in Taurus is here to teach you quite a bit, right? What even makes me feel secure? Some of us are walking around feeling deeply insecure because we are operating from other people's definitions of security and not our own. How blessed are we to have had to spend these last 8 years with Aries, forcing us to get comfortable with our identity and who we are so that we can use these next 8 years to get clear on what our own definition of safety is, our own definition of prosperity and security is, so that we're not wearing the skin or wearing the expectations of other people, right? Don't be scared of Chiron. See the blessing in it, okay? Let's talk about Taurus energy and how it's so vastly different from Aries for a second, so we can understand what Chiron and Taurus is giving us. I'll be having Chiron return in a few years. Okay. I think that's a great thing to be aware of because you can use these first few years of the 8-year Chiron and Taurus transit to really prepare yourself for that return in your chart. I think that's really important. Taurus is ruled by the second house. Whenever we are dealing with Taurus, whenever we're dealing with the second house in astrology, we are dealing with the areas of money, wealth, personal resources. We're dealing with the body, the physical body, right? Because Taurus represents pleasure and health. We're dealing with nature, Mother Nature, right? Again, Taurus connected to the earth, the first earth sign, right? The fixed earth sign. So the stability that earth is supposed to provide us. Taurus energy rules land, possession, and ownership, okay? When we deal with Taurus in the second house, and the second house, not in, and the second house, we are dealing with pleasure, value, as well as self-esteem. Your values dictate your value. What does that mean? Your values dictate your value in the world. Are you valuing yourself or are you valuing other people above you? Those are all things related to Taurus. So Taurus teaches us to build slowly and deliberately so that we have things that are permanent and secure. Whereas Aries swifts in very, very quickly and is very, very fiery and flamboyant. Taurus is subtle, deliberate, determined. Okay? When we are dealing with Taurus energy, we are building slowly, we are building well, we are building something that lasts, right? Taurus deals with value and longevity, right? So I don't know if you were jewelry girls. Taurus is Cartier over Van Cleef, right? Taurus is not trendy. It's something that can last, that can be passed down through the generations. Taurus is sturdy. You can't break Taurus easily, right? So some of the major themes that come up when we have Chiron in Taurus in terms of healing. First one, healing any wounds related to worthiness, okay? So a lot of people unconsciously believe that they have to earn love, right? Love is something you fight for. This is something that, especially if you were programmed by 90s rom-coms in particular, if you love the 90s aesthetic in music, this is something that you may suffer from, or R&B just in general, right? That love is a struggle. Love is something you have to fight for, something you have to earn. Another thing that a lot of us believe unconsciously is that we have to always be proving our value, right? We have to be doing something, giving something, sacrificing something to prove our worth in the world. Another unconscious belief related to Chiron and Taurus that causes us a lot of problems is that worth depends on achievement. if I'm not always hitting a milestone, if I'm not always winning an award, if I'm not always giving someone something to be proud of, if I'm not always accomplishing, I'm not worthy of love, security, stability. Those are Chiron in Taurus wounds related to worthiness. So when we are dealing with healing worthiness wounds while dealing with Chiron in Taurus, we need to be asking ourselves, do we know that our value is there and intrinsic without external validation? Are we capable of valuing ourselves, loving ourselves, protecting ourselves, even when we are not receiving external validation? That is a Chiron and Taurus reflection question, right? Another one. Can we recognize our worth before a blessing arrives, right? Do I need the degree? Do I need the accolade? Do I need the achievement? Do I need that thing in order to understand my value? Or do I have to wait for the blessing, the accolade to show up in order for me to understand how valuable I am? If your answer is that you need the thing, then you may have some work to do around your worthiness, right? Because if you had a sense of worthiness that was not dependent on external validation, you wouldn't need a gold star. You wouldn't need a good girl or a good boy to know that you're good, right? And if you are a person that needs that, then you probably have some worthiness issues that Chiron and Taurus is here to help you navigate, okay? Another theme with Chiron and Taurus is that it's here to help us heal scarcity mindset. If you are a person that operates in win-lose mentality, where you think that if somebody's up, you have to be down or vice versa, if you are somebody who operates in that, then you have a scarcity mentality and you need to be accessing Chiron and Taurus to help you work through it, right? So if you deal with fear of poverty, if you deal with constant financial anxiety, it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. You fear that something is going to happen, the other shoe is going to drop, you're going to lose your money can't stay in your hands. The way my mama would say it, money burns a hole in your pocket. Those are all issues related to financial anxiety, okay? Another way that scarcity consciousness can show up for some of us is constantly being in survival mentality, right? And that's dangerous, not just in terms of value and money, but that's going to be dangerous in your relationships. If you are somebody who has to be in survival mentality in order to function properly, you will be a person that is constantly creating emergencies or chaos in your life or the lives of other people to motivate yourself. And that's very dangerous. And there are a lot of people in our lives and in the world who function that way, and they don't logically understand that that is survival mentality. But if you are somebody who operates from survival mentality, even when you have peace, peace makes you uncomfortable. So you will create drama and chaos to quote unquote motivate you because that's all you know, right? And then another way that healing scarcity shows up a lot of times is with generational patterns of lack. Generational lack patterns, right? And again, we want to brag about breaking generational curses, and then we don't stop and pause enough to ask ourselves what the generational curses are. If you have gone multiple generations and no one in your family or bloodline has ever earned over 6 figures, that's a generational lack pattern, also known as a generational curse, right? If you have noticed 5 generations in your family, and every time somebody tries to start a business, the business fails, right? And it's always due to the same pattern, right? Infighting with a business partner, or alcoholism, or an inability to manage addictions. Those are generational lack patterns. That is a generational form of self-sabotage that's coming up because there's some sort of, I don't want to say curse, because everything's not a curse, but there is something there that's convincing every generation that this is something that they're not able to break through and have. Those are things that to pay attention to, okay? Because sometimes the deepest poverty is the belief that there will never be enough, that you're not worthy of having certain things, that you're not capable of the responsibility that comes with particular financial blessings. And whether that's something that's rooted in you individually or it's something that shows up as a generational pattern, Chiron in Taurus is here to illuminate that so that it can be healed and worked on, okay? A third theme that comes up with Chiron in Taurus, you know what? We're just going to do Chiron in Taurus tonight. We're not going to do Mars and Gemini. I'm going to save that for next week. Let me actually take that out of the title right now, because we have a lot to talk about with Chiron and Taurus, and I really don't want to rush through this conversation. I feel myself, hold on. What's going on? What did I do? I feel myself rushing through the information, and this is really important. So I don't want to speed through it. I would much rather us just go ahead and talk about Mars and Gemini next week than rush through this really important 8-year cycle. Okay. But let's talk about the third thing, which is healing the relationship with the body. Again, Chiron is in Taurus. Taurus is the bull. Taurus is the first earth sign in the zodiac wheel. So when we're dealing with issues of earth, we're dealing with the physical body, our physical health, as well as how we see the body. Taurus is about how we value our temple, how we treat and honor our body, how we create space for pleasure, right? So don't be surprised if you are dealing with body acceptance, right? Either looking at how you have made progress with accepting your body or coming to understand how you need to work on accepting and loving your body, right? Chiron stress can be stored in the body. This is a really good time to read the book, The Body Keeps Score. I know that that's on the syllabus for the Restoring the Womb program that Aja and I will be running in August. So if you are planning to join that program, know that we will carve out time to deal with that or to look into that, because Chiron will be in Taurus while that's going on, but also consider reading that book on your own time, right? Because stress gets stored in the body. And when stress is stored in the body, it turns into inflammation. It turns into illness. It turns into stress. It turns into irritable bowels. It turns into gut health issues. It turns into wrinkles and bags, right? It can wreck a body. And when stress gets stored in the body over a long period of time, it turns into autoimmune issues, right? So Chiron in Taurus asks us to think about, okay, how are we storing stress in the body? How is that leading us to neglect and mistreat our bodies? How can we get to a point where instead of neglecting our body, we are valuing and honoring and taking care of it, right? You can't address the ways you've neglected your body until you are honest with yourself about it and you understand how that neglect is in conflict with how you value your body, right? Tauruses love to sleep. They love a nap. They love to rest. I'm saying this as a Taurus sun. I've literally scheduled my work schedule so that I have a nap every day, unapologetically. It's my favorite thing about working for myself, right? So when we deal with Chiron and Taurus, looking at rest and restoration, are we giving our bodies what we need to heal, to regenerate, to rejuvenate? The body literally cannot heal itself without rest. So Chiron and Taurus asks us to think about, What are our rest practices, our rest rituals? How are we honoring ourselves so that we can recover from what we have survived and been through? Okay? Chiron and Taurus asks us to look at our physical wellness as spiritual practice, right? When I was early in my spiritual journey, I had a priestess that I would get readings from yearly. And one of the prescriptions she would give to me, and it wasn't just me, she would give it to other people too. When you get to the point where you feel like you can't hear your spirits, where you are feeling the spiritual block, go for a run. Take a long walk. Lift some weights, right? Because sometimes we have to literally have the body in physical movement to release literal energy so that we are a clear vessel, right? You guys know that I'm a big proponent of fasting. I fast regularly. I have classes where I've taught about the spiritual significance of fasting, right? Sometimes you have to fast and literally purge things from your body to get energies out, to get toxins out. And in that process of fasting, it breaks your spirit open, your body open, and makes you much more sensitive and susceptible to wisdom that comes from spirit, right? These are all physical wellness practices, right? What are you eating? What do you need to, are you drinking enough water? If water is a carrier of spirit and memory and you're dehydrated, you may not be able to hear things right. These are all things that Chiron and Taurus asks us to think about while we are taking care of our body, right? What are the spiritual blockages and complications we may be experiencing as a result of lack of care of our physical body? That comes to the forefront when Chiron is in Taurus, right? I think a lot of us have this false understanding that our body is separated from the spirit, separated from the mind. No, those are all one thing. They all work in tandem. They are all dependent on one another. So how is a neglect of the body showing up as neglect in our spiritual life, right? I got two more things, I promise. Fourth thing related to Chiron in Taurus. So fourth theme that we're going to be confronted with pretty consistently over these next 8 years, right? And that is about our ability to receive, right? I see all kinds of clients. I'm blessed to have a client base that is extremely diverse, but my focus whenever I'm creating programming classes, my heart is with Black women, right? And I've noticed a thing, particularly with type A Black women, really successful Black women, educated, corporate, if you will, Black women, all have the same complaint. Frustrated as hell and burnt out because they have to do everything and be everything for everyone. But they don't know how to accept help. So they're in this really Cancerian conundrum where they need support and they need this thing really, really badly. But they're also resentful of that need for support. So what do? They reject help when people try to give it. They rush to take care of things before letting anybody support them, right? If you are somebody that does that and struggles with that, and you may not even be a Black woman, you may not be corporate, you may not be, I'm just saying that I've noticed it's a pattern with this particular part of my client base, right? But if you are a person who is great at working and struggling and sacrificing, but you're not great at receiving or being vulnerable or asking for support, do not be surprised if you deal with burnout quite often, right? A lot of us think that our issues with burnout has to do with not having support. No, we are help rejecting. A lot of us think that our issues with money come from not having enough. No, it comes from not knowing how to receive. So the second, again, money burning a hole in your pocket, right? The second you get a financial blessing, you think about ways to take care of everybody else with your blessing. You don't save your blessing. You don't honor your blessing. You don't use it to take care of yourself. That's an issue with receiving. So when we have Chiron in Taurus, some of the questions we got to ask ourselves is, am I even able of accepting help? If somebody came along and tried to help me right now, would I be able to receive it? Or would I be so convinced that they're not going to help me right? Or that they're going to hold it over my head? Or they're going to throw it in my face later? That I'm either not going to let them help me, or I'm going to reject their help by being overly critical because I want to do it myself. Love you down, but I know at least 3 people who are watching right now who know. You know, right? Are you capable of receiving compliments? If somebody comes along and compliments you, are you able to receive it, or do you think that it's coming with a string attached, or that somebody's projecting onto you, or they're just saying it to be nice because they feel bad for you? Can you receive accolades and compliments correctly? When people see you and they see the beauty in you, the God in you, when they see the creator in you, somebody who's able to conquer, when they see that and they compliment it, do you believe it? Can you accept it? Or are you rejecting of compliments? That is something to think about when Chiron is in Taurus. Can you receive abundance without guilt? If the sky opened up and $3 million fell in your lap, would you be grateful for it? And would you use it to build your dreams? And would you see it as the blessing of abundance that it is? Or would you feel guilty and either consciously run out and try to save everybody else with that money, or unconsciously let your guilt show up in the form of addiction through gambling, through drugs, through overspending, and give it away? Right? Those are all things that Chiron and Taurus asks us to look at. Hey, Aja, good to see you. And then the final theme that comes up when Chiron is in Taurus, the final theme that comes up is sacred pleasure. Remembering that Taurus is the body, and Tauruses are pleasure seeking by nature, right? Some would say, and I'm not just saying this because I am a Taurus, some would say that Taurus is the sexiest sign of the zodiac. Some of you guys are scoffing at me, but read a book. You know, I'm not making it up, right? Tauruses have a natural attraction energy within them. And they also represent pleasure. You got to remember, Taurus is ruled by Venus. It is the first Venus sign in the zodiac, right? Think about the energy of spring, right? The clothes are starting to come off. The food tastes delicious, right? The sun is coming out. The rain is on their skin. I'm quoting Natasha Bedingfield by accident. But yeah, so like it's a sexy time, Taurus season, right? So whenever Chiron is in Taurus, it is asking us to look at our sacred relationship with pleasure. Pleasure is not evil. It's not bad. It's a beautiful thing. Chiron and Taurus asks us, whoever shamed you around pleasure, what shame do you carry as it relates to pleasure, and how is that creating wounds or blockages in your life, right? So some of the areas of healing are going to be related to beauty, sensuality, comfort, and joy. Healing is not always about suffering, right? And I've had people get mad at me before when I'm helping them through shadow work. And they're so afraid of shadow work that they've already told themselves that it's going to be bad and it's going to be heavy. And I'm laughing because I'm in the coaching session and I have their outline and it's all shit that's play. It's all fun stuff. It's all trips to the river and coloring books and museums and road, like all fun shit. Healing does not have to be brutal. And so what happened in your life that made you think that healing or correction had to be punishment? Because even that is a way of shaming pleasure. Instead of you being able and open to see learning and healing as something that could potentially be fun, and transformative, you see it as something that has to be brutal, has to be painful, and that's not always true. So Chiron in Taurus asks us to look at how can I bring pleasure back into my experience of healing? How can I seek and find joy and find beauty and find comfort while I'm also healing the wounds that are subconsciously running me, right? I lied on accident. I did have a sixth theme. So let me get through this one. And land. The final theme is land. Again, Taurus is an earth sign. Bulls roam the land, right? Bulls will literally hunker down in a space and never move, right? So there's a permanence. Land, nature, and the wisdom of earth are also themes that get highlighted when Chiron is in Taurus. So this transit is going to inspire a greater connection to gardening, herbalism, root work, environmental stewardship. How are you treating the environment and the land that you are blessed to come into contact with on a daily basis, right? But also ancestral connection through land. Some of you guys in your one-on-one sessions, in your coaching sessions, in your readings, I've been telling you for a while now, when you go back home, bring some dirt with you. When you go visit your people, get some water at the river, bring it home. Why aren't you collecting rainwater? You went to the crossroads. Did you bring any flowers back with you? Did you bring any dirt with you? Right? How are we actually using and connecting with the land so that we can utilize it as a tool? That is very much a Chiron in Taurus energy, right? So let's talk a little bit more about Chiron and Taurus and what we should be doing right now in terms of using the energy to really support our healing in these next 8 years, right? And we can start with something simple, which is just asking, again, when you were spending time at your altar, when you are in prayer, when you are in meditation, asking your ancestors to give you wisdom around not only what they see and they witness, because they're with us all the time, right? What they see and they witness with us around our habits and our relationship with money, but also what's in our bloodline, right? So some things we can ask. What do you all want to teach me? Ancestors, what do you want to teach me about money right now, right? What survival strategies do you see me defaulting back to by habit that aren't working for me anymore, right? What are the habits related to money that I need to let go of, right? I'll share this one with you all. When I was in college, I developed a bad habit of anytime I needed some money, I would go to Buffalo Exchange or Crossroads Trading Company or some other random vintage shop in the Bay Area, and I would sell my shit, right? You guys know I'm a handbag girly, I'm a fashion girly, so it would be a quick way for me to get like a few $100s, right? As I got older and was in grad school and in other places in my life, I couldn't do that anymore. Because I need my things. Like I can't go into work meetings and shit looking any kind of way. I need my nice stuff. But also, I now, as an elder millennial, are looking back at a lot of the fashion trends. And had I kept, those shoes and those belts and those handbags, I'd be a wealthy woman. There are handbags and stuff that I had when I was 19 and 20 years old that are now selling on the resale market for thousands of dollars, right? Why am I bringing this up? Well, that was an unhealthy survival strategy that worked for me when I was 18, 19, 20 years old that would look ridiculous on me now as a woman in my 40s, right? And what time should have taught me was that, doing that impulsive thing in that moment probably fed something very specific. But now I'm looking back and I'm seeing what I've lost in terms of my archive, right? The strategies we use at one point of our life are not going to work in the next. Chiron and Taurus is meant to teach you What are the survival strategies or the financial strategies that you have outgrown? And how is using those old outdated strategies not only keeping you stuck, but keeping you in a space of financial immaturity, right? Another question you should ask your ancestors during this time is, what are the inherited fears that I have that need healing, right? I attended college in state at a university that is highly ranked, beautiful school, will never talk bad about it, grateful that I have my degree from there. But it wasn't where I wanted to go to school. I wanted to go to school on the East Coast. I got into a lot of schools on the East Coast. Some of them I actually got good financial offers for as well. I come from a family that has a huge fear of traveling, has a huge fear of relocation, won't move, won't budge. And a lot of that, I inherited that fear. That fear was literally programmed into me. I remember when I told one of my aunts that I wanted to go to school in DC, she broke down in tears and literally guilted me into not accepting the offer. I love you so much, Auntie. I've forgiven her for that, but that was the thing that happened, right? I inherited a fear of travel that prevented me from going places and doing a lot of the things in my 20s that would have created a lot of opportunity for me. For you, it may not be travel. For you, it can be land ownership. For you, it could be running your own business, right? But there could be some sort of thing in your life that you fear doing, and that fear don't even belong to you. You inherited it. You inherited from previous generations. So having those honest conversations with your ancestors right now, with yourself, will help you in terms of being able to see those things so that you can release them, right? This is a great time to work with the spirits of land and the spirits of place, right? So understanding the nature of certain environments. I'm doing prosperity work, but I don't have a relationship to a bank in my area. That's weird, right? And setting yourself up for that, right? The prosperity work done while Chiron is in Taurus, life happens. You may need to call in something quick, but it should be less about getting bursts of things coming in, and it should be more about setting yourself up for security, land ownership, and financial safety. That's why I brought up the recession in the beginning. We are in a collective cultural moment where this recession has everybody feeling financially unsafe. And Chiron is going to tap on your wounds related to resources, worthiness, and value. So actively using your conjure and your root work during this time to make yourself feel safe, to call in security and safety, even in the face of geopolitical instability, is how you show up as a conjurer in this moment. It is the most productive way to use your conjure. Blessing your home, focusing on building sustainable wealth. Those are things you need to be thinking about, okay? Prosperity is not merely about attracting money. It's about developing the capacity to receive and to maintain your blessings through wise choices. So you heard me mention earlier, some of you guys have a struggle with receiving. So the second you get money in your hand, you automatically think about, okay, how can I sacrifice? Who can I take care of? That is not a wise relationship or a sustainable way to be with your money. So if you know you have that blockage, use this 8-year transit to heal that so it doesn't continue to cause complications in your life. Okay? Just a few more minutes and I promise we'll wrap up, and then I'll take questions from the audience for those who have them, okay? Give me one moment. There we go. So this is let me go through some of the questions first and then we'll wrap up. This reminds me of something you said a while ago about us being in a better place than our ancestors were. we have, even in our most difficult, we have a lot more resources and a lot more wisdom and a lot more access than our ancestors do. And we have an open and active responsibility to show up in the world in that way, right? And that's why I keep pushing back on people in terms of how we think about generational curses, right? If you have more access than the previous generations, but you're still dealing with the same complications, you have to look at why that is, because each generation has improved uncategorically, right? So yeah, absolutely. This is interesting that you mentioned moving our bodies. I just received my Reiki certification this past weekend, and ever since I've been moved to work outside more. First of all, Sylvia, congratulations on receiving your certification. That is dope. I don't do Reiki, but I've been blessed to have a lot of godchildren who do Reiki, and it is a powerful experience. I've gotten Reiki healing from a couple of my god babies. I've gotten Reiki at different points in my life as well. Those of you who have that gift of healing hands, you are a blessing. So I cannot wait to see what that opens up for you and to hear more about it. Absolutely. Thank you so much, you guys, for sharing those updates. Let's go ahead and wrap up a little bit. That way I can take questions from the audience if anybody wants me to answer a question for them. So the main thing about Taurus, right? We hear the value of Taurus. We hear that it's the sign of money. And we automatically think, okay, how can I use Taurus energy to get more? That's not what Chiron and Taurus is about. Chiron and Taurus is teaching us that it's not always about how to get more, but how do we understand what has value in our life and how to protect that value so that that value increases, right? Any of you guys who invest, who have stocks, who are in crypto, you know, it's not about trying to have a ton of things. It's about, okay, what is the value of this and how does that value grow over time, right? Think about Bitcoin. When Bitcoin first came out in, what was it, 08 or 09, there would be times where there would be organizations literally giving away free Bitcoin at conferences and things. People would just throw it in the trash because they didn't understand what it was. Now here we are, almost 2 decades later. One Bitcoin is worth, what, $60,000 or something crazy? Something that people were throwing in the trash 15 or 20 years ago is now worth what some people make in a year. So again, this is not about accumulating a ton of things. It's quality that leads to quantity. If something is valuable, how do I treat it well so that it grows in its value and that value takes care of me? That is a Chiron in Taurus lesson, okay? So as we wrap up, I just want to say that while Chiron is in Taurus, this is not simply about money. It's not simply about accumulation. And if you deduce this transit down to just that, you won't get the opportunity to heal your wounds, right? And here's the thing. When we leave a Chiron transit without grappling with the lesson of Chiron, we are doomed to struggle with that lesson after the transit is over. So if you know that you have certain things related to your finances that you're tired of dealing with, if you have certain themes that you are tired of dealing with related to how people treat you because of your own struggles with worthiness, or your misunderstandings or confusion around what worthiness even is for you, you need to grapple with that now during this transit so it doesn't follow you after it's over, okay? Chiron in Taurus is about healing our relationship with value itself. How do you value you? What do you value? What holds value in your life? Okay? So over the next 8 years, we are being invited to remember that our worth is not determined by what we own. It's not determined by what we earn. It's not determined by what we produce or even what we achieve. Our value, our worth is inherent. And when you believe that you are inherently worthy, you honor yourself and you protect yourself differently. If you see yourself as precious, you have no problem with accepting help and resting because you want to take care of yourself. But if you believe that you are only loved or valuable when you are sacrificing and working yourself to the bone, you will never honor and protect yourself. And instead of receiving the security, the safety you crave, you actually put yourself in harm's way. Okay? Our worth is inherent, and the journey is to learn how to believe that so that you can show up in the world as a worthy, valuable, safe, protected person, which is what the lesson of Chiron in Taurus is about. Okay? So we are now at the end of our Chiron in Taurus discussion. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to go ahead and save Mars and Gemini for next week. And we'll talk about Mars and Gemini along with our discussion about the full moon in Leo that's going to be happening at the end of the month. If anyone would like a reading about Chiron in Taurus and what Chiron in Taurus is here to teach them, go ahead and submit your love offering. Suggested love offering for a reading is 1111. But if you don't have that for whatever reason, send what you do have. It's just the energy exchange is what I look for. If you are blessed to have a little bit more than that and you are feeling generous, thank you in advance for your generosity. But go ahead and submit your love offering. And then once you've done that, just state in the comments that you want a reading, and I'll get to you in order of people, okay? While people are submitting their love offerings and getting ready to get their Chiron in Taurus reading, I'm just going to update you on a few things that I'm working on. As I mentioned earlier, tomorrow is Juneteenth. I am doing a Juneteenth sale. So from now, well, the sale started 2 days ago. So if you're on my email list, you already knew about the sale. But I'm currently running a sale that will last until Sunday midnight. Anyone who uses the code JUNE at checkout for my website, soleilconjureshop.com, SOLE conjureshop.com, will receive 20% off of any order over $60 as long as they purchase their order before midnight on Sunday the 21st. So you can use this to purchase classes, purchase a reading if you haven't gotten one in a while. You can use this to purchase my Rich Spirit Body Wash, which is in tandem with what we're talking about now. Or if you want to purchase an amulet for me, you can use it for that as well. Okay. Some of you guys know that I will be doing a retreat next summer. I've decided to postpone this year's retreat to next summer. So next summer we will be in San Diego for the Divine Feminine Retreat. If you're interested in learning more, click the link for Sacred Alignment below. August 1st, we have Restoring the Womb, which starts August 1st. That is going to be run by Hunsi Aja, my goddaughter, and I will be co-teaching with her, assisting her in that. That is a 4-week healing and restoration program geared towards women. So if you're interested in joining that, click the link below in the description so that you can get more information about that and join us for 4 weeks of healing and restoration during the month of August. The road opening ritual has been postponed. It will start July 22nd instead of June 22nd. So if you're interested in learning more about road opening, I will also be reactivating my road opening readings, which are called the Pathway to Power sessions. Those will be opening back up. They're closed on my website. I only open them up when we're doing a road opening ritual. So I will be reopening those tonight on my website. So if you want to get a reading to see if you would benefit from road opening work, starting tomorrow, that will be available. And you can use that code JUNE to get an additional 20% off of your reading if you're interested in booking. Okay, Sylvia said that they are interested in a Chiron in Taurus reading. Sylvia, did you submit your love offering? And if so, did you submit via Cash App or PayPal? Let me see. And if there's anyone else that would like a reading as well, go ahead and submit your love offering, and I will get to you after Sylvia, okay? All right, thank you, Sylvia. I got your offering. Let me pull up the reading for, okay, here we go. So this reading is going to look at the wound, it's going to look at the medicine, and then it's going to look at the embodiment of the healing. So it's going to show you the wound, tell you what the medicine is you need during these 8 years, and then tell you what it'll look like when you showed up in your embodied version of your healing, okay? I got you, Nicole. I'll get to you after Sylvia. If there's anyone who would like a reading after Nicole, go ahead and send in your love offering, and I will get to you in order. First Sylvia, then Nicole, then whoever is after her, okay? Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits that walk with me, and elevated ancestors. What wisdom do we need at this time as Sylvia prepares for the healing that Chiron and Taurus has to bring to her? What is the wound? What is the medicine? What is the embodiment of her healing? What does that look like for her? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. I got you, Nicole. We got the High Priestess that fell out as I shuffled. So I'm going to come back to the High Priestess and read her in relationship to the spread, because there's something urgent that the High Priestess wants you to know about the lesson that is coming through, okay? So for you, Sylvia, the wound related to Chiron and Taurus that's coming up, that's around worthiness and security, is that you have a fear that something from your past or something that you witness elders go through, you are doomed to live through, right? And that fear, you project it into reality quite a bit. It's actually become something that's imprisoned you a little bit. Intuitively, just what I'm getting energetically, I think that this Eight of Swords experience is not something that you necessarily live through yourself. It's something that you either witnessed an elder live through or that you have heard people say about. Spirit is telling me the women in your family, right? So it's a conversation you're privy to. And with the Eight of Swords being our projections that we are projections of fear into our reality, the way that fear can imprison us and make our world smaller, this fear has made it so that you don't really take a lot of the risks that you should, out of assumption that this thing is going to just naturally happen to you anyway. Here's the thing. What we water grows. So every time we feed a fear, it does get bigger and it does stand a chance of showing up for us. So part of your issue or your wound, and the thing that Chiron really wants you to heal, is to look at the ways in which you tell yourself things aren't going to work out for you or that they don't belong to you before you even try, right? Because it's a way that you kind of have imprisoned yourself. The medicine or the healing lesson or gift that is going to be available to you during Chiron and Taurus, and I love this for you, Hierophant, which is a card of Taurus, right? You are going to learn that a lot of the things that you have accepted as curses or blockages, or even not even curses or blockages, things that you told yourself, well, that's just the way that it is. That's just the way it is in my life, and I don't get to have these things. You are going to learn, while Chiron is in Taurus, that not only is that not true, but that the more disciplined, deliberate, and determined you are, the more blessed you are, right? Hierophant being the card of spiritual discipline, spiritual determination. Somebody who is not only able to learn about the rites of passage, but can learn that information, alchemize it, and turn it into wisdom that they give to other people, right? Whatever this, I'll call it a generational blockage, whatever this thing is that you have inherited that has shaped your fear, through your discipline and determination, not only do you learn that it's not true or not real, but you gain wisdom that you can then share with your bloodline, share with the children under you, share with other people around you so that they don't do that anymore or they don't carry that fear anymore, right? The embodiment of this healing, and I'm not going to cry. You're not going to get me tonight. And I love this for you. Chariot, this is single-handedly one of my favorite cards in the whole deck. This breakthrough and this enlightenment about how your strength, your determination, and your commitment to steady progress brings you blessings, puts a battery in your back around your achievement and your ambition, right? So you as an embodied person who has really learned how to embody what it means to work through and heal their Chiron wound, ends up becoming a person that's very fearless, who goes after what they want, who no longer asks themselves, will I be blessed with what I want, but how do I get closer to my blessings, right? It puts a battery in your back that makes you highly ambitious. And I see now why the High Priestess came out. Because a lot of this is a result of your own ancestral veneration journey and you developing a closer relationship with your spirits, right? Where you trust them. Not only do you, in trusting them, you also trust your insight and your intuitions much more. So rather than thinking that you are beholden to any kind of patterns of the past, you trust the wisdom that spirit is bringing to you. And that trust in the wisdom spirit is bringing to you makes you extremely ambitious about getting what you want. Love this for you. Let me know if that resonates with you, Sylvia. I got you, Aisha. I will do you after Nicole. Just go ahead and send your love offering, okay? We got Nicole next. Nicole, let me know if you're still here. Sylvia, go ahead and leave the scale emojis. Let me know if you received your reading, if you heard the reading that I gave you. Nicole, you want me to do yours last? Okay. Aisha, I'm going to go for yours next because Nicole needs a moment and she requested that I do hers last so that I can get to other people. That's very sweet of you, Nicole. Hold on a second. All right, Aisha, whenever you're ready, go ahead and send in your love offering. I'm going to go ahead and do your reading next, okay? Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits that walk with me, my elevated ancestors. What wisdom does Aisha need about Chiron and Taurus? What will this 8-year transit teach her? What is the wound that needs to be healed, and how does she show up in the embodiment of that healed wound? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. And he jumped out of upright. I'm going to wait until after I pulled your spread to tell you the card that fell out in the shuffle. Because it's a card that, as I'm thinking about it now, actually comes up often in the readings I've done for you. Okay. So in the position of the wound, and we have the Knight of Swords, right? All the knights are busybody energy, right? They don't know how to be still. They think they know everything, even though they're still learning, right? Because think about a man that's 22 years old. You can't tell him shit, right? And the thing about the Knight of Swords is that they have the belief that execution is everything. That's why they move the fastest out of all the knights. They're also the most accomplished out of all the knights, but they're the least liked. And why are they the least liked? Because they are so wrapped up in the belief that their execution is their value, that they run over other people as collateral damage. They miss a lot of details. They neglect themselves sometimes, right? So your wound is one where you feel that your understanding of love is so rooted in a need to perform and a need to receive external validation that it has caused you to kind of run over and neglect other aspects of your life, right? That's that Knight of Swords, Chiron energy, okay? The medicine, the healing lesson or gift available to you during Chiron season. You don't got to do shit but be you and be loved on. You don't got to do shit but learn how to have your heart open and receive. Ace of Cups, love everlasting, love overflowing, open heart chakra. Somebody who deeply trusts themselves as well as trusts the universe to take care of them. Your lesson of Chiron in Taurus is to learn to trust yourself, to trust the universe, and to believe that your worth is so inherent, right? That it is such a truth and a reality that you ain't got to do shit to be loved and received. You just got to show up and be you. That's your Chiron and Taurus lesson. And the embodiment of that lesson, the way that you will understand when you're showing up in that lesson, is the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Confidence, the Queen of Worthiness. She's not afraid to take up space. She can't even tell you she's taking up too much space. What does that mean? I deserve to be here. Whatever space I'm taking up belongs to me, right? The Queen of Beauty. She accepts compliments not because she's arrogant, but because she believes she deserves them. Of course, people are telling me I'm beautiful. I put thought into what I would look like when I got up this morning. Of course, people are telling me I'm beautiful. Beauty is my birthright. So you will know that you are embodying your lesson of Chiron and Taurus the more confident you become, the more comfortable you are with people telling you that you are brilliant, that you are capable, that you are worthy. And it not because you are needing it, you're not dependent on the external validation and the milestone and the hitting of a target. You're comfortable with it because you know it's true and you believe it, right? The card that fell out while I was shuffling was the Page of Swords, and we've talked about this a lot. Page of Swords doesn't fully understand how strong and powerful their tongue is. So they can talk a lot of lack and limitation over their life. They can repeat and fixate on narratives that keep them stuck in the past. And they're completely unaware of it, right? So in addition to that Ace of Cups, Chiron offering you the ability to really learn to trust yourself and to trust the universe, it's also offering you an opportunity to really understand how strong your tongue is and why you got to be careful about what you speak over your life. Okay? Let me know if that resonated with you, Aisha. All right, Nicole, I don't see anyone else who submitted a love offering, Nicole, so I'm going to go ahead and do your reading now. If there is anyone else who would like a reading, go ahead and submit your love offering. Once you've submitted your love offering, just put a comment in the comment section so that I know to get to you. Why am I talking so fast? But for now, I'm assuming that we're wrapping up, and I'm going to go ahead and do Nicole, okay? Aisha, let me know if the reading resonated with you. Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits that walk with me, my elevated ancestors. What wisdom does Nicole need at this time about Chiron and Taurus? What healing is Chiron and Taurus here to give her? What is the wound that she will work on during this transit? What is the medicine, and how will we know that that medicine is working? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. All y'all got a card that fell out tonight. You got two, Nicole. I'm going to read them both. I'm glad to hear that, Aisha. I'm grateful that it was helpful for you. And here's the thing. Some of you guys are probably interested in this, but you came in late, so you still don't understand what I was talking about with Chiron and Taurus. That's fine. I will, as I always do in the Sunday after I've done an Astro hour, I will make this reading available to people on Sunday as well. Okay? So if you didn't get your reading tonight, but you watch this in the replay and you're like, hey, I kind of wanted that reading, just show up Sunday, 7:30 when I'm doing the weekly energy reading, and you'll get an opportunity to get it then, okay? Okay, so this is fascinating. In terms of the wound around worthiness, security, or abundance that Chiron is asking you to heal, you got a really fascinating card. You got the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. When Wheel of Fortune in reverse comes up in reverse in relationship to a Chiron wound, it represents somebody who, because think about it, when the wheel is upright, its energy is in our favor. Fate is working in our favor, meaning that life is on our turn. When it's in reverse, you have a constant energy of believing that it's not your turn, right? Even in times where it is supposed to be your turn and the focus is supposed to be on you, because you have an inherent belief that it's not your turn and that you're supposed to go last, you will sacrifice your own pleasure or even attention or accolades to let it be somebody else's turn. That is your Chiron wound, right? Carrying this belief that you don't get to go first, that it's not supposed to be your turn, right? The medicine and the healing lesson or gift that is available to you during Chiron and Taurus is that your ancestors are going to constantly be giving you a lot of blessings, opportunities, for lack of a better word, promotion and overflow that is going to force you to show up as though it is your turn, right? Life is going to give you a lot of blessings in these next 8 years, and it's going to really be up to you to show up as a person that is not only deserving of them, but is ready for those blessings. So your medicine for Chiron and Taurus season is literally a lot of overflow, not just in terms of resources, but also opportunity. Okay, Nicole? And the embodiment of that allows you to see that this anchor is being really rooted in, this healing is being anchored and rooted into your daily life for you, Nicole, is going to be 10 of Wands. You're going to be comfortable with taking a lot of shit off of your back. You're going to realize, like, this isn't my thing to carry. I'm not to blame for this. I can't carry responsibility for these things anymore, right? You are going to be much more comfortable with having a lighter emotional load by the time we reach the end of the Chiron and Taurus transit, right? Because a lot of what this is here to teach you is that it is your turn. And because it's your turn, you cannot distract yourself by carrying everybody else's bullshit, by carrying blame and responsibility for other people's stuff, right? Cards that fell out in the shuffle were the Ace of Wands and the Three of Wands. And I love these two cards together. Ace of Wands, spark of inspiration, new ideas. Three of Wands, the opportunity to move forward on the execution of those ideas. a lot of the stuff that has been in the realm of fantasy in your brain is going to have opportunities to unfold and become real while Chiron is in Taurus, Nicole. And so I'm grateful that even though this sounds heavy, it's kind of cool that this is here to teach you that it's your turn. Because in knowing that it's your turn, you're not going to hesitate or stutter step in terms of getting these ideas off the ground. You're going to be really excited and ambitious, as opposed to stopping yourself and thinking about whether or not it's appropriate because of who it may or may not put out a turn, if that makes sense. Let me know if that resonates with you, Nicole. Hey, MJ. You coming in as I'm wrapping up. MJ, if you get the chance, make sure you watch the replay, okay? I'm assuming that Nicole is the last reading for the night. Oh, you want a reading, MJ? Go ahead and send your love offering. MJ, I'll go ahead and do your reading. MJ is getting the Chiron in Taurus reading. If there's anyone else that has come into the room in the last couple of minutes who also wants a Chiron in Taurus reading, go ahead and send your love offering to my Cash App or my PayPal, both of which are scrolling below. Once you sent your love offering, go ahead and put a comment in the comment section, and I will get to you. All right, Nicole, let me know if that reading resonated with you or not. MJ, I'm going to go ahead and get to you now, okay? Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits that walk with me, my elevated ancestors. What wisdom does MJ need at this time about Chiron and Taurus? What will these next 8 years of Chiron in Taurus have to teach MJ? What is the wound that Chiron in Taurus is here to help her through? What is the medicine? And what does she look like when she is embodied in the learning of that lesson? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. Oh, damn, I did that again. I always do that. I don't know what it is about you, MJ, but every time I pull in these lives, I be thinking that I'm about to do a full-on reading for you. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to do it. And I'm only saying this because I know you. I know you, so this is bringing up something very specific for me. I low-key miss getting a reading from you. Sylvia, I did a reading for you, right? I believe I did. I don't know. I did a reading for you, Sylvia. I don't think you missed me. Hey, Bertal. Yeah, girl, 8 years. Chiron stays, on the collective level, Chiron stays around for 8 years, okay? So for you, MJ, the wound is the Page of Wands. And I love the Page of the Pages. The Page of Wands is my favorite because the Page of Wands, I have a nephew that makes me think of the Page of Wands. My nephew, Ray, was the quintessential Page of Wands when he was a little boy. The Page of Wands is the child with a big imagination. It is the child with big dreams. It is the child that is very, very passionate, and they learn through experience. The Page of Wands is somebody who is learning that it's not enough to have a big imagination. They have to root the ideas of their imagination into reality. The wound for you is that you were suppressed a lot as a child. You had an active imagination and a big imagination, and you were around a lot of love. The adults around you loved you, but they may not have been able to handle how big your energy was. If you were somebody who's been told a lot throughout your life that you're too much, right? Or you're dramatic, you're a Page of Wands child, and that's a wound for you. And it's a wound for you because it makes you fearful of showing up as your full self around other people out of fear of being told that you want too much or you do too much, right? And you none of that is true. You just got a big imagination and you are a natural innovator. And you've been this way since you were a baby, okay? In the position of the medicine, we got a really interesting card. You just got to sit in it. 4 of Cups. Instead of trying to be something different and showing up in something different, you have to sit in the discomfort of the fact that you are just different than the environment you were born into. That's the thing about 4 of Cups. It's like, I'm uncomfortable, but I can't run from it. I just got to sit in it. So for you, the medicine is owning who you are and sitting in the reality of the fact that just because you have a big mind and a big imagination doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that you are different than the surroundings you were born into, right? And the embodiment of you working through that medicine and embracing that medicine is that you have a shift in a paradigm. Your relationship to yourself changes completely. The way that you value yourself changes completely. So most of the things that you were taught to be shamed of in terms of your imagination, in terms of your whimsy, and I'm hearing the word immature, which I find interesting because we've been working together for a long time. I don't experience you as immature, but I think that there are ways about your ambition and your whimsy that people have called or labeled immature that have caused you to have shame around them over time. So your embodiment through your wounded healer medicine is that once you get to the point where you have the paradigm shift, where you're no longer ashamed of those things anymore, and in fact, you're proud of it, and you don't feel a need to make yourself smaller, that's how you know you've healed, right? MJ, let me know if that resonated with you or not. Bertal said, about to send my offering. Lord have mercy, 8 years. So I'm going to assume, Bertal, that you want a reading. So I'm going to go ahead and give you one as well. I'm going to assume that you want a reading and that you... I got through it, MJ. I didn't cry. You know I'd be crying, but I got through it. See, I'm trying to get better about that. Trying to get better about not getting on here crying. I can literally hear my mama make fun of me when I get on here and cry, because I've been a crybaby my whole life. I was a little girl where if we were in church or if we were in a public place and I saw another grown-up crying, I would start crying. Like, it's bad. But let me know if that resonated with you. Let me know if that resonated with you, MJ. Bertal, I think you may be my last person, Bertal, I had with you. I mean, that last reading I had with you before tonight was back in February, I think. Yeah, well, Sylvia, you know where I am. I'm not hard to find. If you feel like you got to talk to me more often, then do it. I mean, February is a long time. It's been a while. I would suggest us checking in at least once a season, but you know when you need me, where to find me. All right, I got you, Bertal. Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits who walk with me. My elevated ancestors. What wisdom does Bertal need at this time about Chiron in Taurus? What will these next 8 years teach her about her Chiron wound? What is the medicine? And how will she know that she is standing in the embodiment of her lesson? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. Sylvia said, if it makes you feel any better, I crown average once a week. I feel less alone. I feel less alone. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Okay. So, Bertal, before I read this, you know that you just saw me shuffle the cards. I didn't do no weirdo shit because I swear sometimes there's some of y'all when I do these readings on live where I'm like, they gonna think I'm making this shit up. And because we've talked about it so much, right? So before I do your reading, Bertal, you saw me shuffle. You know I'm not making nothing up, okay? Your wound around worthiness, security, or abundance that Chiron is asking you to heal, that they want to work with you to heal, is related to your tongue, right? You are a powerful priestess naturally. You know this. I've already said this to you a million times. Your prayers carry far and wide. You have a tendency to speak limitation over your life and over your opportunities in ways that I don't think you even are fully aware of, right? That Page of Swords naivete around the power of your tongue and how quickly you can speak certain circumstances into existence is really, really strong. And that is something that Chiron really, really wants to work with you around. Now, the medicine that will help you, you got to learn how to take support. You got to learn how to accept help. You have to stop rejecting help. You have to stop fucking rejecting help. You got to get comfortable with the concept of charity and understand that charity is not weakness, right? That's the thing about the Six of Pentacles, because there's a borrower and there's a lender in the Six of Pentacles. And sometimes when people struggle with receiving, it's because they are much more comfortable with being the lender than they are the borrower. The reason why Six of Pentacles is coming up for you is because even when people have overflow to give to you, you aren't comfortable with taking it. So Eight of Pentacles, oh, sorry, not Eight of Pentacles. Sorry. Chiron in Taurus, these next 8 years is really here to teach you that not only is it okay, it's safe to accept help. And that everybody needs support at sometimes. And that you have to learn how to be just as comfortable with being the borrower as you are the lender, okay? Now, the medicine that comes from, the healing that comes from this medicine of learning how to receive, and the outcome, the embodiment of you having healed your Chiron wounds, is that you get to be the Queen of Pentacles. You get to show up as somebody who feels safe and comfortable, not just in their body, but in their environment. You get to be somebody who is not only tapped into their sensuality and their needs and their pleasure, but who also has everything working out for them. Another thing about the Queen of Pentacles, what do I always say about her? She's the queen of favor. Part of the reason why she is so wealthy is because she has done right by so many people that they want to see her win. So she has people in her life that she can call favor from, right? That she can call on for support. She has a network of colleagues that want to see her win. And that's another thing. You are so afraid of receiving because you fear vulnerability and you think that people are going to judge you. That is not the reality, because most of the people that want to pour into you know that you're the Queen of Pentacles. They know that the second that they have a need, you're going to take care of them. Queen of Pentacles is able to receive because she trusts that. And she knows that people aren't supporting her out of perceived desperation. They're supporting her because she's worthy. So you are embodied in the lesson of your Chiron once you are in your Queen of Pentacles energy, Bertal. Let me know if that resonates with you, okay? Was there someone after Bertal that wanted a reading? Hey, Sinidra, good to see you. And remember, you're the one who told me to sit in my bougie, and I definitely do that. It was one of the best prescriptions. I'm a Taurus sun, Virgo moon, Leo rising. Sit in your bougie. Learning to sit in your bougie unapologetically is not only a form of power, it's a form of protection. Because it's only people who think that they can't qualify that want to convince you that there's something wrong with being bougie, and they want to bring you down to their level, okay? Sit in your bougie, always. Bertal, let me know, always on spot. Mine is in Gemini, being labeled as having a learning. Yeah, and we can talk more one-on-one about what that looks like. Again, some of you guys may have never worked with your Chiron specifically. Right now, while I have this sale, I would strongly encourage you to purchase my Chiron classes. I think I have 3 different classes I've taught on Chiron. One teaching you how to locate your Chiron position, another on how to use Chiron in astrology. People think that there are no cards related to Chiron. That's a lie. And then there's like a 3rd Chiron class that I taught. But the point is, there's a lot of Chiron wisdom and information on my website. So I strongly encourage you to go ahead and purchase those classes. If you don't want to purchase the classes outright, join my Patreon. All of those Chiron classes are available as replays on my Patreon. All right, Sanidra, I got you. Sanidra, go ahead and send in your love offering, and then I will do yours now, okay? If there's anyone else that would like a Chiron reading, go ahead and send in. I can do maybe one more person after Sanidra. If not, I'm going to wrap up with Sanidra. So if there's anyone else that would like a Chiron reading that has not gotten theirs. Okay, Sanidra, I see you. I was talking, my bad. But I see it. Go ahead and send in your love offering, and I will get to you, okay? Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits to walk with me, my elevated ancestors. What does Chiron and Taurus want to teach Sanidra? What is the wound that she carries? What is the medicine that Chiron and Taurus will provide? How will she know that she is an embodiment of the healing of that wound? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. A lot of y'all are getting cards falling out tonight. You are doing the damn thing tonight. Thank you, Sylvia. This is my first, it's not my first. I was here last week for Astro. However, I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. I've been going live less these last few weeks, mostly because after travel, I was dealing with burnout. But I'm glad to be back on here, and I'm grateful that you guys are responding well to this conversation. Again, I'm a Chiron priestess. I love working with Chiron. I don't find Chiron as scary as a lot of people do. And there's so much wisdom. Y'all not gonna do it. I'm not gonna cry. There's so much wisdom from Chiron. Sanidra, your wound has to deal with trust with communities of women. With groups of women. You both, it's like a Cancerian conundrum. And here's the thing, I know you're not a Cancer, but I call it the Cancerian conundrum because if you research Cancer in any astrology book, it talks about how Cancers crave connection, but they're resentful of the fact that they crave it, right? And you have that Cancerian conundrum when it comes to relationships with women. I assume that you may have had an experience early in life where you were gossiped really badly by women, either women in your peer group or women in your family. But the 3 of Cups is coming up as the wound because you are afraid to be vulnerable with the wrong people out of fear of being gossiped about, right? That's your wound. That's a huge wound for you. The medicine, which is the healing lesson or gift that becomes available to you while Chiron is in Taurus, is that you will be surrounded by people who are deeply not only compassionate, but emotionally mature, right? People who gossip chronically, because everybody gossips a little bit, but people who gossip chronically are very insecure, right? The King of Cups is the card of emotional security, emotional safety and protection, compassion that turns into wisdom that allows them to lead other people. You are going to come across a lot of people who are not only emotionally secure, but good at emotional regulation. And these are going to be people that don't really have a whole lot of a reason to show up in the world that way. And because you have more people coming into your life that are this way, it pulls that out of you as well. You become a lot more emotionally safe, and you trust that it's okay to be vulnerable, but you don't feel a need to be vulnerable with everybody, because that's the thing about the King of Cups. He has spiritual discernment. So again, your spiritual strength is one that makes you much more discerning around who you share your life with. That is the medicine that comes to you while Chiron is in Taurus. What is the embodiment of that lesson? How does this anchor you in the healing that Chiron in Taurus is meant to bring into your daily life? You become much more protective of yourself, right? Again, I'm coming back to this lesson of spiritual discernment. The only reason why these goofy bitches were able to have this impact over you in your past was because you were at a point where you did not have the gifts of King of Cups to be spiritually discerning around who is worthy of your emotions or not. Four of Pentacles being somebody who wants to protect their resources, protect their body, their reputation. You are much more discerning, and that discernment, instead of it showing up in you hiding from the world, you just know a lot better around who to share your value with and who not to, right? So that's how you'll know that you're embodying the lesson that Chiron and Taurus has to give you. Five of Pentacles fell out. And I love that the Five of Pentacles fell out for you. Because what do I always say about Five of Pentacles? It's lack poverty mentality, not literal poverty. I think that awareness of the dearth of secure people that were around you helps you to not blame yourself so much for the ways in which people have betrayed your trust in the past. So rather than you internalizing the ways in which people have gossiped about you in past as a reflection of you, you understand, like, no, I was in some petty ass environments. I was around some petty ass people. So this is me being in my responsibility around being careful about the environments that I'm in. Let me know if that makes sense to you or not, Sanidra. I hope that resonated with you. High school, you had, oh, yeah, see, you, and it's because you're beautiful. And I know I say that to you all the time. You are so pretty. And high school is tough for pretty girls. High school is tough for pretty girls, especially if you are pretty in a non-conventional way, right? So like if you are a dark-skinned girl who's pretty, or if you were, you know, a bigger bodied girl that was really, really pretty. If your beauty was non-conventional in high school, it's like people felt like they got to pick on you more because why am I attracted to you kind of thing. I saw it a lot when I was in high school, and then also when I taught high school, I saw it a lot. But again, part of the gift of Chiron and Taurus for you is that you start to understand, instead of internalizing it like it's your fault, you understand that something's fucked up in those environments. And because you value yourself, you just find new environments. This was fun. This was fun. I hope that this was helpful. I want to thank you all for trusting me. Everybody who got a reading tonight, I hope that this was beneficial to you. I will be back on Sunday to do the weekly energy reading for real this time. I was not able to do it this past Sunday because it was my first Sunday back on appointments after the travel and stuff from the end of last month. And Sundays are my busiest days. Everybody want to quit their job. Everybody want to leave their husband. So everybody flocks to my Sunday appointments. And I accidentally overscheduled this past Sunday. But I'm mindful of it this coming week. So I will be here Sunday, 7:30 p.m. EST to do the weekly energy reading, okay? If you want to book a one-on-one reading with me, I have my Juneteenth sale going on right now. All orders over $60, you can get 20% off if you use the code JUNE, JUNE, at checkout before Sunday midnight, okay? I will be starting my financial trauma recovery classes. The first 2 will be free here live on YouTube. And then after the first 2, there will be a small fee to participate. But the first class will be here July 1st. So keep your eyes and your ears open. If you are not already in the Sacred Roots Facebook group, join now so that you can learn and receive updates about free classes. My next Patreon class is going to be this coming Tuesday the 22nd. We're doing the follow-up to my Shadow Work and Tarot series. We're going to be looking at the Suit of Swords. So if you want to join and take part in this upcoming tarot class, join my Patreon, the link for which is below in the description. And I believe that's everything for now. Love you all. See you Sunday. And until next time, take care. Bye.